This is a video I really was thinking about not making today. I'm going to have a complete, honest reaction here. Going to be going over the Detroit Lions' initial 16-man practice squad and the other signings they made to the 53-man roster today. This is going to be my most honest, brutal reaction I've had in a long time. I'm not going to try to get worked up over this. It's a practice squad. I understand it. Practice squad means a lot more to me and the Lions organization than a lot of other people. It really does to me. The practice squad mean a lot. I'm going to try to keep my calm. Let's go ahead and start off with the signings made to the 53-man roster today. But I was really considering waiting to make this video until tomorrow when I was a little bit more calmed down. But I decided to go ahead and do it today this way I can get my honest reaction. Lions announced roster moves. They signed safety Daniel Thomas to the active roster, who was on the Jaguars last season, got released on Monday or Tuesday. And then they got a signed defensive tackle Tyrell Lacey from the Jacksonville Jaguars as well, and defensive end Tyrus Wheat from Dallas via waivers. They ended up claiming both those guys. They did not claim Daniel Thomas. They ended up just signing Daniel Thomas in free agency, and they added Tyrell Lacey and Tyrus Wheat through waivers because Daniel Thomas has been in the league for over 4 years, so he was not subject to waivers. However, Tyrell Lacey and Tyrus Wheat were, so they had to go through waivers. The Lions ended up claiming them, and then all those three guys ended up joining the Lions 53-man roster. The Lions got another roster spot open after they traded away Tim Patrick this morning. So they ended up having 4 roster spots open on the 53-man roster, filling 3 of them. The Lions still have 1 spot. And Brad, you told me to get my popcorn ready for the draft. You told me to get it ready. I had it ready in hand. And what do you know? I'm thinking you were going to take a defensive end? No, you wait till the 6th round and take him. Is no longer on the team. If I have to make another package of popcorn for you to bring in a defensive end, I will. I'm still waiting on it, though. I'm still waiting on Zadarius Smith. Or any defensive end, matter of fact, who's going to make an impact. Let's go ahead and take a look at these guys' stats here real quick. I'm still waiting, Brad. I'm still waiting. We'll go ahead and start off with Tyrus Wheat because he's the one I want to get out the way first. Tyrus Wheat has not played much in the NFL in his career, former UDFA. 6'2", 263, so a little bit undersized. 25 years old, between 26 towards the end of the season from Mississippi State. This is his 3rd season in the league. Had 5 solo tackles this preseason. He's played 2 years in his NFL career. Played 12 games in 2023, 3 total tackles. In 2024, played 8 games, 14 total tackles, and a half a sack. On his college stats and NCAA at Mississippi State, he played his first year, had 5 sacks. Second year, 2.5, 2 forced fumbles, and a pick. His 3rd year, 7 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pick. And then his final year, 6 sacks and an interception. So for a defensive end, the guy can pick the ball up for sure. But this guy is definitely a guy who can get to the quarterback from what it showed at Mississippi State. Now, I have not watched this guy's film because I literally could not. If I watch this guy's film, he probably ain't going to show me much. So I was even going to pop a gasket probably more. So I decided not to watch his film yet. I will watch it after this video once I can finally get a brutal reaction on this. Because I don't think it's going to be a good reaction to this watching his film. But from his college stats, this guy could end up being good. Not really done anything in the NFL. We'll go and take a look at his PFF grades here just to go deeper in terms of stats here. I'm not going really off their grades, but they add a couple more stats here that ESPN does not show. PFF has him listed as 260, not 263. He had a grade of 46.5 last year, which was 188th out of 210 defensive ends, 165 snaps, 7 total pressures on that, and 9 total tackles. His overall grade is 46.5, which is, again, 188th. His pass rush grade was better, 59.3. That's 110th out of 210 defensive ends. His run defensive grade was horrible, 39.8, which is 202nd out of 210 defensive ends. And he had 9 solo and 3 assisted tackles. He had 5 stops, 6 quarterback hurries, no batted passes. So those were the main stats here, and if you want to go really deep, 71 pass rush snaps and 93 run defensive snaps. So those are the stats for Tyrus Wheat. This guy's probably going to be a roster bubble guy. He's on the 53-man roster right now. This guy could very well only play like 1 or 2 games on the Lions 53. He could be a healthy scratch within the first couple games and then be booted off the roster and like put on the practice squad or something like that. This guy, I would not be surprised if he's not on the 53 in a couple weeks. This is probably just a guy to have on the Lions roster until Ahmed Hassanin comes back or until somebody I don't really know. Again, I have to watch this guy's film in terms of his play style, but this guy probably isn't going to do much for us if I'm going to be completely honest. We'll see. I don't really have an opinion on this guy right now. I didn't know who he was when we signed him. I know most defensive ends in the NFL after how the Lions have addressed it these past couple years. But the fact that I don't know him is a little bit of a problem. But maybe his stats can make me end up knowing him and make me end up liking him. But for right now, don't love it. Don't love it at all. Tyler Lacey was the other player they signed, defensive tackle, 6'4", 285, so pretty undersized for defensive tackle, as around Levi Onwuzurike's and Mekhi Wingo's size. So he's definitely a pass rushing defensive tackle from Oklahoma State. Was a 4th-round pick, 130th overall by the Jags in 2023. 25 years old, be turning 26, I would say, midway through the season. One solo tackle this preseason. In his rookie season, he played 15 games, 12 total tackles, and a pass deflected. In 2024, he played 13 games, 25 total tackles, and that was it. So the guy really is a tackling machine. That's what it looks like. And his college stats, I actually knew this guy coming out of the draft. I didn't know who this guy was when we signed him. I didn't really watch his film, though. I don't remember her studying him, but I do remember his name when he came out the league. He had a sack his first season at Oklahoma State, 4 sacks and a forced fumble his second year, 3.5 and 2 forced fumbles his third, and then his last year, Oklahoma State had 3 sacks. So in his 4-year college career, he had 4 passes deflected, 11.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. So the guy could get to the quarterback at a decent amount. Go take a look at his PFF grades here. Now Tyler Lacey's PFF grades. He had a 45.2 grade. That's 179th out of 219 interior defensive linemen. 340 snap count. That's 96th out of 219. So pretty decent amount of snaps. Only 9 pressures on that amount, though. That's not great. 14 tackles. And down here, let's see. 50.4 pass rush grade. That's 208th out of 219th interior defensive linemen. 47th grade for run defensive. That's 143rd out of 219. 14 solo tackles, 11 assists. He had 8 stops, 8 quarterback hurries. So out of his 9 pressures, 8 of them were hurries. 1 quarterback hit. And he had 162 run defensive snaps and 176 pass rush snaps. So Tyler Lacey, I don't mind this signing. It's just the problem to me, why do we have 7 defensive tackles right now on the 53-man roster? Yes, it's initial. But what, really, 7 defensive tackles. There's a good chance 3 of them won't even be active for game day. I don't understand that. Maybe Chris Smith is just a potential guy and he could get released here any day and put on the practice squad. I don't really know why we have 7 defensive tackles on the 53-man. I don't like that. That is way too much. But when it comes to the signing of Tyler Lacey, don't really mind it. And the final player that they ended up signing, this was actually the first one that was announced, Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas is 5'10", 215, so decent size, 27 years old, just turned 27, from Auburn, 5th-round pick in 2020, 157th overall, 6 total tackles this preseason. And from what I've read, Daniel Thomas is a special team ace. That is something to the reason why potentially Ian Kennelly, Lawrence Strickland, Maurice Norris, even though Maurice Norris really wasn't given a fair opportunity because of his injury, and Eric Howlett, why they did not make the roster as the safety 4, was potentially due to them not adding enough value on special teams, like now Daniel Thomas, who now becomes safety 4, adds. So Daniel Thomas and I'm sure Dave Phipp had a big input on the signing. Take a look at his stats here. His first year, he's played every single year of his career and played a pretty decent amount of games. 10 games his first year, 18 total tackles and an interception, 2 passes deflected. And besides that, after that, it hasn't put up much stats when it comes to through the year. 16 games played his second year, 27 total tackles. 2022, 15 games played, 8 total tackles. 2023, 15 games played, 8 total tackles. And then 2024, 15 games played, 10 total tackles, and a fumble recovery. So really hasn't done much when it comes to stats throughout the year. Again, he's been a special team ace. That's what he's been his whole entire career. Does he have any college stats here that pops out? Or postseason stats. 1 solo tackle in 2 games in 2022. Take a look at his college stats here. When played at Auburn, had 2 picks his first season and a pass deflected, 3 passes deflected, and a pick his second year. His junior year had 2 passes deflected, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 picks, one of them being a pick 6. And then his final year at Auburn, a pass deflected and a forced fumble. So, Daniel Thomas, I don't mind the signing either. I don't know what I just did here on my OBS. I got to fix that, of course. This day's just getting better and better. But Daniel Thomas, welcome to the city of Detroit. Same with Tyler Lacey, and I keep forgetting the other defensive end's name, Tyrus Wheat. That one's going to take some time to get used to. Welcome to Detroit. Let's go over Daniel Thomas PFF grades here. This thing that I just did to OBS is really making me mad right now. Daniel Thomas PFF grades, still not great. Probably the best. 54.3, 132nd out of 171 safeties. Only 35 snaps on defense this past season. 58.4 pass rush grade, that's 73rd out of 171 safeties. Run defense grade 60.5, 118th out of 171, and then pass defense coverage grade 86 out of 171 with a 60.7. 1 solo tackle, that's it. He had 2 assisted, so 3 total tackles. He had 1 missed tackle, and 6 run defensive snaps, 1 pass rush snaps, and 28 coverage snaps. So there you go. That is Daniel Thomas's stats. He's going to wear number 2 for the Detroit Lions, which is what Hendon Hooker last wore, which we'll get into a minute. And let's go over the Detroit Lions practice squad here. What you've all been waiting for. So now the Detroit Lions practice squad. Oh boy. Man, is it something. The Lions practice squad is something. And matter of fact, this video is already getting too long, so we're going to go ahead and end it here. So check out the practice squad video that is coming out. That's already probably out when you're seeing this. So watch that. One Pride, Go Lions. Thank you for tuning to the end of the video. And wow, the Lions practice squad is something else. And I'm just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and continue this video. If you're still here, appreciate it, because I just realized my whole thumbnail has essentially a big practice squad player and that I have to talk about, and I don't feel like changing the thumbnail. So let's go ahead and get into the practice squad. Totally forgot that my player in the practice squad, or my player in the thumbnail, had a big something to do with the practice squad. So let's go ahead and check out the Lions practice squad here. The Lions signed 15 guys to their practice squad. They can have a max of 16 in an International Pathways program, so technically 17. The Lions don't usually keep an International Pathways program. They did 1 year, but I think that's it. So let's take a look at the Lions 16 or 15-man practice squad right now. They still have 1 spot open. So the first player that made the practice squad was Jacob Sailors. Now, off to a great start. Jacob Sailors would play. His stats didn't say it, but he looked very sharp, very quick, very elusive in the Lions preseason games. I love that he's back on the practice squad. Him as running back 5 is great, and potentially could be elevated to start the season as running back 4, while Sione Vaki is doing with his injury. Now, the second player to make the Detroit Lions practice squad was tight end / fullback Zach Horton. Now, maybe that one comes as a surprise to some people. I don't really view it as a surprise that much. He didn't play great in the preseason, had quite a bit of penalties. He had 2 or 3. He's got to work on that. When it comes to his blocking, he was okay. Was involved a little bit in the pass game. Played a lot of fullback his final preseason game for us. Probably won't play anytime this year unless if it's Shane Zylstra, Brock Wright, or Laporta goes down with an injury at some point. I don't mind the signing, give him time to develop, but I didn't love what I saw from him in the preseason. It is what it is. The third guy that they signed in the Lions practice squad was my favorite signing for sure. And if they did not sign this guy to the practice squad, because every Lions player that got cut cleared waivers, that got waived ended up clearing waivers. So if we did not bring this guy back, I was going to have a major problem, and that is Jackson Meeks. Jackson Meeks has re-signed with the Lions practice squad after clearing waivers. I'm shocked that he cleared waivers. I'm so glad he's back. So hopefully this still gives incentive now for Zadarius Smith to come back. But I absolutely love Jackson Meeks coming back on the practice squad. The fourth player that they ended up bringing back was the legend, Tom Kennedy. Don't mind this one at all. I'm pretty sure Tom Kennedy is either going to be on the Lions 53-man roster or practice squad until he retires. at this point. I think he's 29 years old, just turned 29. He's going to be on the Lions 53-man roster or practice squad until the day he retires. I mean, that's just what he's going to do. Good old reliable, headed down here in the preseason this year, but I still don't mind it. Veteran ad in the receiver room. Don't mind it. The fifth player that the Lions signed to the practice squad, really like this one, under the radar. They ended up signing Ronnie Bell to the practice squad. Like this one, I did not think they were going to sign him to the practice squad. I really did not think they did, or they would, but they ended up doing it, and it looks a lot better now. So I'm not concerned at all right now, at all, with Tim Patrick being traded and the Lions wide receiver room. I'm really not. You got St. Brown's your 1, Wayne Mose your 2, Tesla is your 3, Raymond is your 4, and Levet is your 5 on the 53-man. And when it comes to your practice squad wide receivers, spoiler alert, there's no more wide receivers that made the practice squad as of right now. You got Jackson Meeks, Tom Kennedy, and Ronnie Bell. Easily all three of those guys could be wide receiver 6. In my opinion, Jackson Meeks should be wide receiver 5 over Dominic Levet. So, not concerned at all with the Lions receiver room. Maybe you add another receiver to the practice squad. You still got one spot left. Now, that spot, in my opinion, spoiler alert, is going to be for a quarterback. There's no quarterback that made the Lions practice squad. We'll go ahead and get to a former Lions quarterback on the preseason who ended up getting cut, who's now joined a different organization. Go and talk about him in a little bit. But I'm assuming this last spot in the practice squad is going to be for quarterback. They're probably evaluating, looking at film and stuff like that, trying to see who's the best option available. Everybody's pushing for the Lions to sign DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He is horrible. I liked him coming out of the draft, but he is just not developed at all at the next level. I mean, his stats are like Tim Boyle compared stats. I think he has like 0 touchdowns to like 6 or 7 interceptions in his NFL career. And he struggled a lot during this preseason. I think one of the preseason games this year, he threw 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, or 0 touchdowns, 3 picks in the game. He's not a good quarterback, so I really hope that's not what the Lions do. But they're probably evaluating their options right now, trying to find who's the best available. And I swear to you, if the Lions end up bringing back Tim Boyle or Nate Sudfeld as the practice squad quarterback, I'm going to lose it. The sixth player that they signed the practice squad was Dan Skipper, so Dan Skipper, welcome back. I'm shocked they didn't make the 53-man roster, but he could very well be back on the 53-man shorter rather than later. Welcome back, Dan Skipper. The seventh player was Tristan Colon, so it looks like Tristan Colon's injury might not be that serious, and I really do like the signing if his injury is not serious, and he should be able to return to action here sooner rather than later. He could arguably be the Lions' second-string center. Kingsley Ekukan obviously made the 53-man roster, being the backup center right now. Tristan Colon also has the flexibility to play guard that Ekukan really doesn't have. Ekukan played a little bit of guard in the preseason, but not a whole lot. Colon can definitely play guard. So Colon is going to get probably a lot of action this year as a backup guard or center, in my opinion. So I would not be shocked if he's on the 53-man roster here sooner rather than later as well. Their eighth player they signed, I don't like this one. This is the first one I don't like. They ended up signing UDFA tackle/guard Mason Miller to the practice squad. He did not have a good preseason at all. He does have the relation with tight end coach Tyler Roell. So that is potentially a reason why the Lions ended up signing Mason Miller to the practice squad. But he's got a lot of work to develop on. I don't like that signing at all. I'm going to be completely honest with you, but who knows? Maybe it works out in the end. This signing I don't like either. We needed to move off this guy. The Lions ended up signing center/guard Michael Neese to the practice squad. Why? I thought we were finally going to get rid of another guy here. We're talking a little bit that ended up the Lions did moving on from him. And I thought we were going to get rid of this guy who the Lions, in my opinion, also needed to move on from. But we just keep bringing him back. I think the only reason why he made the practice squad is because of the flexibility. When it comes to his play, it's not good. He's okay in the run game. His pass game is some of the worst I've ever seen. I don't understand. It's practice squad. It's practice squad. It's practice squad. It's practice squad. There's a chance the guy didn't even play this season. There's a chance he won't even be on the team within a certain amount of weeks. Process that in my mind. I got to process that. All right. But Michael Neese is back on the Lions practice squad. I disagree with that. The 10th player they ended up bringing back was Isaac Ukwu. I'm 50-50 if I like this one or not. Isaac Ukwu, to me, Again, he had one good preseason game this year. Technically had 2 sacks. One of them got called back in week 3 versus the Dolphins, but besides that, he had 3 really bad games, and he's just inconsistent. And I don't think he's going to be able to develop him much into something. Split there if I like it or not. Practice squad guy, fine, but if he has to ever play on the 53-man at a significant level, that's a problem. 11th player was Miles Adams. I'm 50-50 on that one as well. Played a lot during the preseason, veteran defensive tackle. Played okay for us last year after the Lions signed him late in the year. Played okay during the preseason. I'm 50-50 on this. I mean, he's not going to be any better than what he is now, so that's why I'm like 50-50. I think he can be a 53-man roster defensive tackle. I think he's a decent practice squad. I'm 50-50 on him. That's all I can explain. The same way how I feel about Isaac Luka with Miles Adams. They ended up signing Keith Cooper to the practice squad UDFA from Houston. I like that signing. I'm not as high on him as everybody else is, but I do like that signing a lot. I think he can develop in being a good player within future years. I think rookie year, though, he's probably going to be redshirted. And then the 13th signing was Anthony Pittman. He was one of my priorities to get back on the practice squad, so I love that Anthony Pittman is back. That's a good move. The 14th player was safety/cornerback Eric Hallett. Really like this one as well. Played very good in the preseason for the most part. The last game versus the Houston Texans was pretty rough for him. But besides that, he can play both positions. Former 6th-round pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I really do not mind him coming back on the practice squad at all. I actually like it. And then their 15th guy, and the final guy as of right now that has been signed on the practice squad is Lauren Strickland. And I'm not a big fan of Lauren Strickland at all. You guys know that. But as a practice squad guy, I don't mind it at all, especially after what he showed in the 4th preseason game. And I want him to succeed. If he proves me wrong, that's great. And if he can prove to be a great safety, that's great. I just don't see him turning into that or even turning into a reliable backup. I really just don't see it. So I hope Lauren Strickland can do that, but it is what it is. I'm glad to see him back on the practice squad. And some notable names now. This is where I'm going to lose my mind. Some notable names who did not make the Detroit Lions practice squad. We'll start off with the guys that I'm not going to lose my mind over quite as much. I'm just going to go over the bigger names. At offensive line, Netane Mutai did not make the Lions practice squad. Don't like that. The fact that Mason Miller and Michael Neese made it over him is a problem. Mutai did not have a great preseason, but he played significantly better than both of those guys. I'm trying to think of other guys here. Broderick Martin. I'll show you here. I have the link pulled up. Broderick Martin is no longer on the Detroit Lions. He has, let me see here. Here we go. He did not get picked up on waivers. There were some rumors going around that he could get picked up on waivers, but he ended up signing with the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad per Justin Rogers and the Detroit Football Network. So congrats to Broderick Martin. Wish him the best. I think it was time for him to go, and one of the 2 players, I think they just needed a change of scenery, did get the change of scenery. So Broderick Martin, wishing him the best. But man, was that by far Brad Holmes' biggest miss, and wow, hopefully that never drafts a project player this early in the draft ever again. And the other player right now that has signed to a different team's practice squad that was on the Lions preseason roster, and I'm really glad about this one. Per Aaron Murrah of the Lions, the Panthers are expected to sign former Lions quarterback Hendon Hooker. He will join the practice squad. He will compete, right? He could very well be the backup quarterback to start the season because if I'm not mistaken, Andy Dalton is their backup quarterback and he's dealing with an injury right now, if I'm not mistaken, which could leave Hendon Hooker as the backup quarterback to start the season there. Bryce Perkins ended up getting released, who the Panthers signed a couple weeks ago, the UFL MVP from the Michigan Panthers last season. He ended up getting released, and they replaced him with Hendon Hooker. So good for Hendon Hooker, man. I hope he could end up being the successor to Andy Dalton as the backup next year. So wishing the best to Hendon Hooker. I'm shocked he didn't get claimed either. Wishing the best to him. That's all I can really say. But those are the 2 players on the Lions practice on the preseason roster who did not make 53-man practice squad that is signed with a different team as of right now is Roderick Martin and Hendon Hooker. And the other notable names that did not make the Lions practice squad, who was I talking about before? Oh, Roderick Martin. Deron Gilbert did not make the Lions practice squad. Wishing him the best. Very nice guy. He showed some special teams. I honestly really liked what I saw from him in the Week 4 game against the Houston Texans, but he still needed a lot of work. So I wouldn't be mad if the Lions ended up bringing him back later in the year on the practice squad or something, but I think that is the right decision to move off him for right now. And every single cornerback competing for cornerback 6 throughout the preseason did not make the practice squad. Specifically, the biggest one, Nick Whiteside, did not make the practice squad. He struggled in Week 4 a significant amount. I don't mind it. I'm still surprised he didn't make the practice squad. Another one, too, that's maybe surprising to some people is Tyson Russell. He had a pick in the final preseason game, the only pick that we got all preseason. He did not make the practice squad. I thought he played pretty solid throughout the preseason overall for being a UDFA cornerback. Who really just signed throughout minicamp. He didn't even sign as a UDFA immediately after the draft. He didn't get signed until minicamp. So I thought he held his own throughout the preseason, but I understand that one as well. And then the other two corners that did not make it were DJ Miller and Alan George and Luke Barku. And then safety, the other big one, there's really two big ones. Ian Kennelly did not make the Lions practice squad. I'm really surprised about that. He just fit Detroit a lot. He was a Lions fan growing up, so I'm surprised Ian Kennelly did not make the practice squad. And unfortunately, Maurice Norris, my guy, did not make the practice squad. That one hurts. Could come back later in the year. I expect him to come back later in the year, but that sucks, man. But let's get to the big one here. This is where I'm going to lose my mind. The Lions decided to not bring back Nate Lynn. Nate Lynn, right now, as of the recording of this video, 10:45 Central Time on Wednesday, is still a free agent. If Nate Lynn is not back on the Lions' 53-man roster or practice squad, and he signs with a different team, whenever that may be, that's a problem. Brad Holmes, I don't know what week it was. It was against the Dolphins or it was against the Texans. I want to say it was against the Dolphins. Was saying I think it was TJ Lang, asked him about who stood out the most on like a roster bubble guys who was probably earned a roster spot. He said Nate Lynn. He said he looked great throughout training camp, has looked really good throughout preseason, and it sounded like for sure Nate Lynn was going to get a practice squad spot at least, and it sounded like he was even going to get a 53-man roster spot. No, neither of them as of right now. Neither. Absolutely. He played very well throughout the preseason. The fact that he did not make the practice squad, and Isaac Ukwu did, is a problem. And we brought in Tyrus Wheat over bringing back Nate Lynn. Over prioritizing bringing back Nate Lynn. Again, the Lions still have one practice squad spot left. It's probably going to be for a quarterback, though, of some sort that has probably not been in the Lions organization before. Maybe the Lions' final spot in the 53-man roster is for Nate Lynn, but that better be for Zadarius Smith. I'm trying to process what the Lions are doing right now. I'm really not liking their offseason right now and what their roster is going to look like to start the season, besides the fact that they're healthy right now for the most part. They're really not, though, at the same time compared to a lot of teams. Healthier, though. Besides that, I really don't like the roster in terms of improvement from last year. I don't know. One probably the Lions. There's your 15-man practice squad is right now. I'm assuming the Lions' final spot in the 53 and the final spot in the practice squad will get filled by tomorrow, so look forward to that. One probably go Lions. You told me to get your popcorn ready, Brad. Please tell me that popcorn move when it comes to a defensive end is Zadarius Smith. I'm waiting, and if I'm not waiting, or if it takes any longer, I don't even know. I might as well just stop YouTube at this point. I'll probably be 80 years old before Zadarius Smith returns at this point. One pride, go Lions.